Alright, so in this video I'm going to be going over how to get some general basics for Unity VR development and using an Oculus Quest 2. You could use any headset you want, but I'm using the Quest 2, and so you'll have to do a little bit different steps if you're using a different headset. For the Quest 2 specifically, make sure the headset is linked to your computer, and on the Oculus app in Settings General, enable Unknown Sources. From here, open Unity Hub and start a new project. I'm on 2020.3.26, but you should be able to use this on any version of Unity from this or above. And in our case, we want to start with the VR core. I'm going to name it something and click Start. Now, the VR core development one is going to include some basics for VR Unity. You could start from a base set, and it's not that much different, but for the couple things that it gives us, it'll be nice, so we're going to use it. Alright, now that everything is loaded in, it should look like this. Just click close on this one, and there's going to be a few housekeeping things we need to do before we start. If you want to follow along with how I do this, I use window layouts 2x3. Click OK, and then up in the three dots, switch to one column. This will get your Unity to look just like mine. And then just a couple more things. Go to Edit, Project Settings, XR Plugin Management, and then click Open VR. This will enable OpenXR. This will enable OpenXR, which is the multi-platform tool that we're using here. So this should work on any VR headset you have. It's just the initial setup is going to look slightly different when we enable one thing. Click yes, which will restart your thing, and I'll be right back. Once that is loaded back in, you're going to see a little warning symbol here. Click this, click Fix All, which will get rid of one of them. And the other warning, all you have to do is hit edit and add one interaction profile. For me, I do the Oculus Touch controller profile, and we're good to go. So from this point on, if I hit play, I should be able to see that my hands are linked to some controllers. Although one issue you will see is that they aren't linked properly. The controllers are not the right controllers, they're just the default Unity ones. So I have played around with the values a little bit and determined that 0, negative 0.02, 0.06 for position, and negative 60, 180 for rotation is pretty solid for matching the controllers, but you can always tweak it more if you want. Copy the component and add it to the XR controller left as well. Paste component values. And then if we hit play now, you should see that the controllers are linked to our hands much better. So there's a couple more things we need to do to the starter scene though, before we actually start doing stuff. One of them is that these tracked poise drivers are not what we want in order to start interacting with things. And in order to get what we actually want, we need to go to Window, Package Manager, and then click the gear, Advanced Project Settings, and enable Preview Packages. Hit I understand, exit out of this, and then Packages, Unity Registry, and then type XR Interaction Toolkit. Click Install. This will install the Interaction Toolkit, which we need to pretty much interact with everything. And then click No Thanks. From here, we can get rid of the camera offset, add a component of XR Origin, add the camera offset back to the camera floor offset here, and then change the tracking mode to floor. And then two more things for the controllers. We can get rid of the precision tracker and add XR controller device based. Make sure the right hand is set to right hand, and then do the same for left hand. So from here the game should work and we're set up. So from here we're going to make it so you can actually interact with something. So before we make anything, let's make a couple materials under create material, and I'm going to just make a red one, and then you can control D this to copy it. I'm going to rename this to brown and make this one brown. So now in the scene, right click here and create a sphere. This is my sphere, and I'm going to make this red so we can actually see it. And making this interactable is actually really easy. all we need to do is add a XR grab interactable script to this, and it should work on the object's end. But to actually grab it on the XR controller right, we need to add an XR direct interactor. And we're almost done. One more thing, we need to add a sphere collider to the controller, and I'm going to decrease its size down to 0.2. And then lastly, set the sphere collider to a trigger, and then if we were to go into the scene at this point with my right hand, I should be able to grab the ball with the grip button. And as you can see, it's kind of clipping inside of me a little bit, but it is grabbed and I could throw it. We could fix that clipping really easily by just going into the camera offset main camera and changing the near to 0.1, for example. Now after you throw the ball, you can't go get it back at this point, so now we're going to add some basic movement, which is actually really easy under the current XR system. So type locomotion system and add that in, and then add a continuous movement provider, device based, and a continuous turn provider, device based. And then from here, you just had to have the controller you want. I like to have my movement on my left controller, so drag that in, and then I add a controller here and have my turn on my right controller. And now if I'm able to go into the scene, I should be able to move around with my left stick, grab the ball with my right hand, and throw it. And then it's too fast for me right now, but I could go grab it if I wanted to. So from here, if we wanted to increase our movement speed, it'd be as simple as increasing the move speed right here. Let's say increase it to 5, and now we're much faster. Alright, so next up, I'm going to show how to use ray transforms. First of all, let's change the sphere to 0.2 instead of 1, so it's a little bit smaller and easier to see in our hand. Move it a little closer to us. And then to actually make the ray interactor, it's pretty easy. Right-click XR rig, go to XR, device space, ray interactor, and let's name this one left ray interactor. And from here, make sure it's set to the left hand. Change the usage button to the trigger since the grip is currently grabbing things. I guess with the left hand it currently isn't, but you could make that grab with both hands very easily by copying it over. And then now, if we run the app, you'll be able to see that there's a ray, but it's coming out of the top of our controller, which is not what we want. So in order to change this, right click and create an empty object and name it ray origin. And then the ray origin should be set to 0, negative 0.03, and 0.05 with a rotation of 75. And then go back into the ray interactor and drag the origin into ray origin transform. And now, if we go into the scene, we should see that our ray spits out forward, and if we point it at the ball, it should turn white, and clicking the trigger will grab the ball, and we can throw it. One other cool thing you could do with the ray interactors is teleport with it, which is actually very easy to put in as we have most of the components already. So go to the XR rig and add a teleportation provider to it, and then go click on the plane itself, and then add a teleportation area so we can actually click on it. And then this will already teleport, but one more thing to make it a little bit easier on your wrists. If you go into the XR ray interactor again and change the line type to projectile curve, it'll make it curved and just feel a little nicer. I set the velocity to 8 so it curves a little bit more. And now if I go into the app, you will see that our line curves, and if I click, I can teleport around in addition to the normal movement I have. And if I'm on the ball, it'll take precedence and I can still throw it. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to show you is how to make a object pivot for grabbing things when they're not in the center. So let's create a cylinder, and let's just go to it so it's a little bit closer. I'm going to shrink this down to 0.2, or keep this one 0.21, 0.2, and put this over here. Let's make it brown so we could see it better. And then this currently will grab in the center, but if we want to use this as like a bat, for example, I wanted to grab it down here. So we need to right click on the cylinder, add a empty, and name it pivot. So in this case, I'm going to make the pivot down towards the bottom. And then in this actual cylinder, make sure you add the XR grab interactable and attach the pivot to the attached transform. And now if we go in and grab our giant bat, it should grab from down here. You're going to notice one last thing. If I were to grab this and hit it, it doesn't really hit very well. And that's because the type of physics that it's using is instantaneous. These all do different things that can be looked into. But if you switch the bat to kinematic and then go back into the thing, now we can go and grab our bat, pick up our ball, hit into the air. First try. So that's pretty much it for the basics of VR development. If you want to copy any of these over between hands, they're all interchangeable. But if you want to do cooler things past this, such as make cooler props like a lightsaber or a gun, add pockets to store objects that you can take out of, or make a hat or a rock climbing wall, for example, you could check out Valum on YouTube, as he's the one that helps me figure out VR development with his tutorials. They're great, and I will have him linked in the description. Thanks for watching, everybody.